Hi everyone, welcome to Elvis Presley Past, Present and Future, where we are together for another week as we continue on our Elvis journey. We have just started the Las Vegas years, and today we are continuing that with 1970. I'm doing this in two parts, as 1970 was a huge year for Elvis in regards to concerts and recordings. So I'll start off with part one this week and continue 1970 next week. There was a huge recording session done in 1970. So I'll be telling you all about that today, as well as the first engagements in Las Vegas of 1970. So let's get into it. January 10, rehearsals began at the RCA studio on Sunset Boulevard. Because Ronnie Tutt had been replaced on drums by Bob Lanning, pianist Larry Mohaberek dropped out as well, so James Burton recruits his friend Glenn D. Harden, who played with Buddy Holly's backing group The Crickets. Cissy Houston too has departed to be replaced for a time by Ann Williams. Elvis and the band begin rehearsals for the next Vegas engagement at the International. Elvis wanted to change the repertoire from his first Vegas appearance. So, Proud Mary, Poke Salad Annie, Walk a Mile in My Shoes, and Sweet Caroline were added to the show, including some songs from his own recently recorded work. Elvis opens this 4-week engagement with a single invitation-only show, attended by everyone from Fats Domino to Zsa Zsa Gabor. This show generally draws rave reviews. Las Vegas, Season 2, went from January 26th to February 23rd, 1970. On January 26th opening night, the crowd was 2,200. He did 2 shows a night, one at 8:30 p.m. and one at midnight. For that opening night, Elvis wore the white Cossack top white macrame belt jumpsuit. This was the first jumpsuit that Elvis wore on stage. He first used this in the 1970 January-February Las Vegas engagement, and then again during the 1970 Houston gigs in February-March. The belt of this suit was later used with the lace suit, as well as one of the rare 1972 white 2-piece suits. This second Vegas engagement ended on February 23. Elvis did 41 shows and wore a variety of jumpsuits during this engagement. As well as the Cossack top jumpsuit, Elvis wore the blue brocade suit. It's an aqua-coloured suit decorated with 3 inches of wide embroidery around the chest opening and the high collar. Patterns consisting of tiny aqua flowers and tiny leaves entwined with golden dots and lines around them. The pattern has made several believe it's supposed to represent snakes twined around the aqua flowers. This is not the case. On each side of the sleeves, there are 3 aqua-coloured cuff buttons. The belt is tied to the left. It is a weaved macrame in a bow pattern with what appears to be small blue stones, making it look like small eyes in the middle of the pattern. Elvis wore the blue brocade suit, or the tapestry suit, the blue aqua, or the blue snake, as it was called, as well in Vegas in the second season, January-February 1970. and maybe for the last time in Houston on February 28, 1970 at the 2 p.m. show. This suit is on display at Graceland. The white macrame belt was sold on auction on October 7, 1995 and is today in private hands. He also wore the white brocade suit. The other names for this suit is the white sleek. It's a white jumpsuit with a silver pattern on the lapels. The belt was the original made for this suit, the white macrame belt. Now, there was two identical versions made of this suit with only one minor difference, which is the trim on the V-shaped collar. One was in a different colour. The other one version had the blue silver, like we see there, and the other was basically orange. Although this suit is mostly associated with the 1970 January-February Vegas engagement, it was also used during one of the 1970 Astrodome gigs, and again during August and September Las Vegas engagement. It's even possible that Elvis had worn this during his first 1971 Vegas engagement. So we'll have a look at that when we're doing 71. February 16, Felton Jarvis supervises the recording of selected songs from both the dinner and midnight shows, which will serve as the backbone for Elvis's upcoming on-stage album. The album features the worldwide #1 single, The Wonder of You. February 17, RCA continues to record selectively at both evening shows. February 18, an afternoon rehearsal is called to work out arrangements for 3 additional songs, since there is not enough satisfactory new material in the show to fill an album. The 3 songs are the 1959 Ray Peterson ballad, The Wonder of You, Ray Price's Release Me, and the blues standard CC Rider. Recording continues during both these shows and the following night. Between the 8:30 p.m. show and the midnight show on February 18, Elvis met with a fan backstage. Lucky fan. February 23, Elvis closes his engagement with a midnight show that runs until 3 a.m., giving what many consider to be one of his finest performances. On February 25, Elvis flies to Houston for his shows at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo in Kirk Kerkorian's private jet. He used Kirk's private jet and was accompanied by his father, the Colonel, and members of his backing crew. On arrival at the tiny air terminal, he said with a grin, "I thought we were going somewhere, man." TV cameras panned across a shock of blue-black hair, a white suit, white boots, red shirt, and black accessories. Elvis holds a brief press conference at the airport before checking into the Astro World Hotel. And the press conference goes like this. Question: what made you decide to come to Texas? Elvis: well, to tell you the truth, I started out here in Texas. I think the first show that I worked was down here around Houston. Question: do you remember what locations you worked here in Texas? Elvis: well, I worked Houston, worked Corpus Christi, every little town here. Longview, man, you name it, I've been there, really. Question: what do you think of Texas? Elvis: I like it. I like it. I really enjoy it. Question: have you ever seen the inside of the dome before? Elvis: never have. It scares me. Laughs. It's a big place, man, you know. Question: you've been known as the king of rock and roll. Do you think your style has changed now from the days when you were working, or do you consider that's still your style? Elvis: I think the overall thing has improved. The overall sound has improved. I mean, I think it's according to the songs, you know. It's just according to the songs. Question: is your stage presentation still the same way it was, or have you improved on that? Elvis: well, I just do whatever I feel on stage, you know. I've always done that. Question: are you going to keep making films? Elvis, laughing: hope to. Well, I'd like to make better films. Question: what do you mean by better? Elvis: better than the ones I made before. I mean, playing general types, westerns, romances. Elvis coughs: excuse me, I can't take this fresh air, man. I'm used to all the garbage cans at the International Hotel, man. He laughs again. If I can't smell some garbage, I don't feel I'm at home, man, I tell you. He coughs again. Question: do you have any films in the making right now, or any planned? Elvis: no, there's nothing as far as I know. Is there, Colonel? Anything in the works? Colonel Parker: no, I can't predict that myself. Question: when you look at your opportunity, what will you do to try to fill up the Astrodome? Elvis: well, it will be the type of stuff that I do. It's a mixture of things, you know. It's a little rock, a little country and western, you know. Question: essentially the same stuff that you did at the International? Elvis: yeah, the same type of thing. A lot of different songs. So I just hope I can put on a very good show, mainly. Question: what happened to the Jordanaires? Elvis: I can't get them out of Nashville, man. They got stuck in Nashville. And they make so much money and they do so well in Nashville that you can't get them out of there, you know? Question: do you have any thoughts about the rising interest in country music? Elvis: I think it's fantastic. You see, country music was always a part of the influence on my type of music anyway. It's a combination of country music, gospel, and rhythm and blues. It's all combined, is what it really was. As a child, I was influenced by all of that. Question: do you consider yourself basically a country music singer then? Elvis: I would hate to say strictly country because of the fact that I liked all different types of music when I was a child. You know, of course, the Grand Ole Opry was the first thing I ever heard, probably. But I liked the blues and I liked the gospel music, gospel quartets, and all that. Question: do you ever pull out any of those old records on the Sun label and listen to them at all? Elvis: they sound funny, boy. Elvis, laughing again. They got a lot of echo on them, man, I tell you. But that's what I mean. I think the overall sound has improved today, you know? Question: well, do you think there's more gimmicks today than what there were, say, 15 years ago? Elvis: well, there's probably more gimmicks, but I think that the engineers have improved, and I think that the techniques have improved of overall recording. Question: consider further reevaluation of your career to get you back in front of live audiences again. In other words, you were available to the public only in your films for a long period of time. Elvis: I think the most important thing is the inspiration that I got from a live audience. I was missing that. Question: was it rough at the International? Was it a little bit of a strain on you after not performing? Elvis: it was always terrible. I enjoyed it. And I'm going to enjoy it here because it's a live audience and it makes a world of difference. Question: the attire is not one that we are familiar with seeing. Elvis: it was taken from a karate suit, just a regular karate type outfit. There's a siren in the background. Are they coming to get me? Is that it? Elvis laughs. Question: does this indicate that with your type of dress and everything, now that you're changing a little bit of style perhaps, in deterrence to what you did a few years ago? Elvis: I don't know. I think that you'd have to see the show, you know. It's difficult to tell. I don't feel any different, you know? I don't think the dress has much to do with it. I got the idea from a karate suit because I studied karate for a long time and I had them make up a couple of suits like that. Question, what do you do for relaxation? You said you studied? Elvis, yes, karate, if you can relax while doing it. I don't know. I read a lot. I go horseback riding, stuff like that. Question, do you still live principally in, Elvis, Memphis? About half the time. Half the time there, half the time in LA. Question, in that show you have planned for the Dome, do you plan any of the old songs? Some of the first ones? Elvis, I'd like to, you know. Question, any special ones? Elvis, I'll try a couple of them to see if they work. I hope I can give them a good show. That's the most important thing. If I can give them a good show, then I'll feel like I've done something. Question, what is the biggest live crowd you've ever performed for? Elvis, if I'm not mistaken, it was Vancouver in Canada. Wasn't it, Colonel? Colonel Parker, the Cotton Bowl. Elvis, the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, yeah. It was about 25,000, I guess, something like that, I think. Then the Colonel put an end to the interview, and Elvis was taken back to the Astro Hotel to rest up for the Astrodome. Astrodome, Houston, Texas, February 1970. The Houston Astrodome was chosen by Colonel Parker to be the first venue for Elvis to perform outside of Las Vegas. This was done for several reasons, but none of them was because the place was suitable for a show of the kind Elvis held. The Dome was an enormous hall built in 1965, the least of its functions being for concerts. Parker was possibly unsure of Elvis's status in the wider world. Performing in Las Vegas was something quite different from performing in venues which could seat far larger audiences. The rodeo show at the Dome always attracted thousands of people, no matter what. February 26, Elvis became aware from the first moments that the sound system was hopeless and the band will be unable to hear itself. Don't fight it, he said to Glenn Harden. Just go ahead and play. Elvis performs afternoon and evening shows at the Houston Astrodome. 2 more shows follow on the 28th. 2 more follow on March 1. A closing press conference and banquet follow, and Elvis is presented an armload of recent gold record awards. The 6 shows attract 207,494 people and set records. There is speculation among the press and public that Elvis might tour in concert for the first time since the 50s. February 27 to March 1st, he did 6 shows there, setting a new attendance record, about 180,000 people. On March 2, Elvis left the Astrodome. Mission accomplished. Houston officials gave Elvis a solid gold watch for breaking attendance records. For this Houston engagement, Elvis wore the white Cossack suit as he did in Vegas the previous months. Other names were the white pearl neck cord jumpsuit. It's a plain white jumpsuit with neck cords. The other suit he used at the Astrodome was the blue brocade suit that he wore the previous month. He also wore the white brocade suit. As we said, there were 2 versions made of this suit. One with the blue silver collar and one with the orange collar. And there's the orange collar one right there. Elvis also introduced a new jumpsuit to Houston at the Astrodome. It's known as the thin green leaf. The other names for this suit is the green sleek. It's a white jumpsuit with green trim. The belt is an original green macrame belt. Elvis first wore this suit during his second Las Vegas engagement in January and February. Only a very few pictures of this has surfaced. He also wore this suit during one of the Houston Astrodome shows. Elvis wore the belt of this suit with the fringe suit during his 1970 September and November tour. On March 29 of 1970, it was Easter, and these pics were taken then of Elvis hiding eggs for Lisa, and Elvis with his own stash of eggs. I think we've all seen that picture. June 1, 1970, a new guardhouse is completed at Graceland Gates. The cost, $1,950. Felton Jarvis quits his job at RCA to work directly for Elvis, not only recording in the recording studio, but in Las Vegas and on the road. Elvis Presley's Nashville Marathon recording session, June 4 to June 8, 1970. This was Elvis's first substantial studio time since the now legendary sessions of January and February 1969 at the American Studios in Memphis. Elvis had entered those Memphis sessions off the back of a successful television special and had approached the sessions like a hungry fighter aiming to reclaim his title. This focus led to some of his finest recordings, including hits such as Suspicious Minds, In the Ghetto, Kentucky Rain, and two impressive albums in From Elvis in Memphis and Back in Memphis. In short, the Nashville sessions had a lot to live up to. By June 1970, Elvis's comeback was secured. He had achieved 4 top 10 hits on the US singles chart over the previous 12 months, including number 1 with Suspicious Minds and his return to live performances in Las Vegas. They had been a critical triumph, as had his appearances at the Houston Astrodome 3 months earlier. Let's take a look at the Nashville Marathon. On guitar was Elvis, James Burton and Chips Young, and Charlie Hodge. Drums was Jerry Carrigan, piano was David Briggs, bass was Norman Putnam, organ harmonica was Charlie McCoy, engineer was Al Pachuki, and producer Felton Jarvis. The musicians on this session were completely different to those on the Memphis sessions, and apart from James Burton on lead guitar, no member of his live band was present either. Putnam later told Elvis biographer Peter Guralnick how nervous he was about the prospect of working with Elvis. "I was scared to death," he said. "I remember standing in the bathroom looking in the mirror and saying, 'Dear God, don't let me be the one to screw up this session. Please don't let me be the first guy to ruin it.'" Elvis and his band recorded 35 masters over the 5-day session. The quality of the songs varied, but Elvis's performances were generally excellent, if not quite matching the intensity and polish of the best of the Memphis sessions. Most of the songs found their way on one of 3 albums: Elvis Country, That's the Way It Is, and Love Letters from Elvis. June 4, 1970, Elvis arrives at the studio to start recording. Elvis begins 5 days of recording at RCA's Studio B in Nashville, reporting each evening at 6 p.m. and working until the dawn hours. The decision to follow up the magnificent sessions in Memphis by going back to RCA's Nashville studio and hiring Nashville's musicians must have puzzled quite a few people at the time. However, as Chips Moman's Memphis studio had folded, both RCA and Felton Jarvis must have been pleased to see the situation return to what it had been before. Felton Jarvis supervised all the arrangements, such as booking studios, hiring musicians, and staying in touch with the various publishing companies and RCA. Whereas Elvis would be in control during the actual sessions. Jarvis would do all the overdubbing sessions at a later date and see to the forwarding of the master tapes to RCA. From Elvis's live band, only James Burton took part in the sessions. Perhaps because apart from Jerry Reed, no lead guitarist of top-notch quality was available in Nashville. The sessions lasted 5 nights and produced a total of no less than 34 recordings. The usual recording procedure was reverted to, with Elvis doing his vocals along with the rhythm track. Unlike the previous Nashville sessions, this time a lot of overdubs were made, probably in order to simplify technical proceedings during the actual session. All the backup vocals, such as extra banjo and fiddle parts, were recorded during the following months. The saxophone that was so prominent in Elvis's 60s sessions was dropped in the 70s band, and any horn section work was now dubbed in later. Once again, the quality of the material to be recorded presented a problem, and unfortunately, a great number of mediocre ballads were chosen. Generally, the songs that made up Elvis Country are of a high standard, with Bill Monroe's Little Cabin on the Hill and a great rocker like I Wash My Hands in Muddy Water being especially impressive. Apart from rock-orientated songs like Patch It Up and the medley Got My Mojo Workin', during these sessions, rock repertoire, unfortunately, was neglected. Not to mention blues or soul-orientated repertoires. A definite disadvantage of the overdubbing procedure was Elvis's absence when this work was done. As a result, Felton Jarvis's rather traditional concepts became the ruling factor in all the overdubbing and mixing. Jarvis would then submit final mixes to Elvis, who would perhaps occasionally ask for certain changes to be made. That first day set the tone for what was to follow, with Elvis in a loose mood, as if he might break off into a jam at any moment, but also in strong voice and generally committed to the material. I've Lost You was released as a single, and a live and marginally superior version of it appeared on That's the Way It Is. This is a strong song with adult lyrics that possibly resonated strongly with Elvis, depending on who you believe at the time. Excuse me. Although quality material wasn't particularly commercial, and so peaked at a disappointing number 32 on the charts. Elvis had been messing around with The Fool for many years before cutting it for his country album. There's a home recording of him performing this from a decade before. The studio version takes a bluesy approach, which is very effective, but it might have benefited from being in a slightly higher key. The same goes for Little Cabin on the Hill, which is the kind of song Elvis had been singing since the 1950s and did actually sing at the famous $1 Million Quartet session in 1956. 20 Days and 20 Nights is a standout performance from the first day. June 4, 1970, RCA, Studio B, Nashville, Tennessee. What was recorded was Mystery Train, 20 Days and 20 Nights, I've Lost You, I Was Born About 10,000 Years Ago, The Sound of Your Cry, Faded Love, The Fool, 100 Years From Now, Little Cabin on the Hill, and Cindy Cindy. June 5, 1970, RCA Studio B, Nashville, Tennessee. This is Elvis in the Studio B car lot on June 5. Recorded was Bridge Over Troubled Water, Got My Mojo Working, How the Web Was Woven, It's Your Baby, Stranger in a Crowd, I'll Never Know, and Mary in the Morning. Bridge Over Troubled Water, although better live, and It's Your Baby, You Rock It, to the rather unforgettable I'll Never Know, The That's the Way It Is cuts are all strong songs and very well executed. Got My Mojo Working was from a jam session and breathed some life into Love Letters from the Elvis album. June 6, 1970, RCA Studio B, Nashville, Tennessee. I Didn't Make It on Playing Guitar, which was a jam. It Ain't No Big Thing. You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. Just Pretend. This Is Our Dance. Life and Heart of Rome. This was the weakest day yet of the session as regards song quality. But two of the songs were worthy of Elvis's time, namely Just Pretend and You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. As with the previous day's weaker cuts, the remainder, apart from the opening jam, appeared on Love Letters from Elvis, which does make this seem like an album for leftovers. You Don't Have to Say You Love Me hit number 11 on the US charts when released as a single, backed up with Patch It Up. June 7, 1970, RCA, Studio B, Nashville, Tennessee. June 7, a new idea began to take shape. The original plan to cut just 18 songs could not have included any thought of a second album. But on the fourth night, all of a sudden, a country album began to emerge. The songs recorded on this night were When I'm Over You, I Really Don't Want to Know, Faded Love, Tomorrow Never Comes, The Next Step Is Love, Make the World Go Away, Funny How Time Slips Away, and Love Letters. June 8, 1970, RCA Studio B, Nashville, Tennessee. There Goes My Everything, If I Were You, Only Believe, Sylvia, and Patch It Up. The final day of recording didn't reach the heights of the previous day. There are no bad performances, but the material could have been stronger. There Goes My Everything is perhaps the vocal highlight. Elvis also sings Only Believe very well, but the song is a little ponderous. Patch It Up is a solid performance, but worked better in a live setting. It's evident that there was a little less discipline at these sessions than at the previous year's Memphis sessions, and maybe a great tendency to accept lesser material. It's probably fair to say that Elvis simply wasn't as hungry for a hit in June 1970 as he had been in January 1969, and he didn't have a producer who was inclined to challenge him, as Chip's Mormon had in Memphis. There was also a move away from the blue-eyed soul of the American studio cuts, which had a lot to do with the change of musical personnel. After producing several big hits and one of the best albums of Elvis's career from Elvis in Memphis, it's a real shame that Elvis didn't or wasn't able to work with Chips and the Memphis musicians again. It was too often the case with Elvis's career that there were political factors that took precedence over the business of creating good music. What the Nashville Marathon does provide is a real insight into what made Elvis tick musically. He drew on country, R&B, gospel, and rock and roll, but all with his personal stamp. Elvis singing country wasn't quite like anyone else singing country. Bassist Norbert Putnam summed it up well when he said of Elvis, "I came to understand he expressed so many things with his voice. He was the greatest communicator of emotion that I ever knew, from beginning to end." Well, there you go. Told ya there was a lot going on in 1970, and we've only got to June. We've still got the rehearsals of the comebacks. That's the way it is. We've still got more Vegas appearances. We've still got other appearances around the globe. And also too, at the end of 1970, there was an event as well, which we will get into. I might have to do the 1970s in 3 parts. Who knows? But 1970 in 3 parts. Who knows? But we will continue on with the year 1970 in our next week's episode. Now, the song for this week was a hard choice. Didn't know whether to do Houston, didn't know whether to do Vegas, but I did chose Vegas for song today. And it's not just one song, it's several songs all rolled into one. I have actually got this footage from another Elvis lover, another Elvis YouTuber who goes under the name of John Burroughs. And I'll put the link to his channel and this video down the bottom of the description. So if you'd all like to go to that and actually subscribe to his channel. He's a great guy. He has great Elvis clips there. So let us sit back and let us all enjoy Elvis. And this is in February 1970 in Las Vegas. Enjoy.
When I met a girl that I love best, you know my heart is getting me to know. She touched my hand, what a chill I got, her lips are like come on, sit down. Criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. Just walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. I'm inclined to believe that I'm inclined to believe that never would. Oh, sweet. Good times never seen. Mama was working on the chain gang. A mean, vicious woman. Lord have mercy. I realize I'm crying. We can't go on together with suspicious minds. And we can't, you know,
you all enjoyed that. I think that was absolutely wonderful. And like I said, please do have a look at the link, and all go over to have a look at John Burroughs' songs. He restores a lot of old footage, and I think he does an excellent job with that. I'll put the link down in the description. Anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the first part of 1970. Let me know in your comments, which jumpsuit do you like so far? Is it the white Cossack? Is it the black Cossack? Is it the blue brocade? Is it the white brocade? Or is it the new leaf suit that we saw? Let me know which one you like so far. And don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. It is free. And all the likes and all the comments that I get, it does let YouTube know that how the channel's going, and it actually puts it up into the recommended for people to watch, which grows your channel. So if you do that for me as a favor, I would really, really appreciate it. I do see every single one of your comments, and I do reply. Also, before I forget, there was a question from one of my subscribers last week wanting to know more about the 69 version of the song that I actually played last week, the Kind of Fall in Love with You, and wanted me to elaborate a little bit more about that. Well, as far as I know, and I will have a definite answer on that for you in the coming weeks, I have actually ordered what they say is the 1969 opening night concert, as well as other concerts. As far as I know, I have just bought that recording. I'm waiting for the delivery. It is coming from overseas, so it's going to take a little while to get here. But as soon as it does, I will reach out and let you know if it does or if it doesn't. If the actual that 69 version is actually on that CD, or if other songs are on it. But I know there is a section of the opening night of 69, so let's just hope that that is what it is. Let me know, please. That's a great question. Let me know if anyone else has any questions. Just put in the comments, and I'll do my best to find out the answer if I'm not sure of what it is that you're asking me. Guys, you all have a great week. Look after yourselves. Take care of each other. And I'll see you all next week. Bye.